Hello, my name is Ilya Belyakov, and I will be your special host for Diverse Voices Heard, a TBS eFM special feature on Seoul City Foreign Residence Council. Well, I've been living in Korea for the past 17 years now, and I have come a long way before I became Korean back in 2016. I have been hoping that there will be some ways for foreign residents in Korea to have their say in the policy-making process. And I hope this special feature will help understand the Seoul City Foreign Residence Council that acts as a bridge between Korean local government and foreign residents here. According to the Korean government statistics, the number of foreign residents in Korea has increased by about 8.8% over the year from 2017 to 2018. Amid the low birth rate and aging population in Korean society, the government predicts that there will be a constant increase in foreign residents, such as workers, international marriages, and international students. As Korea is becoming a multicultural society with an expansion of foreign residents, it is becoming more important to figure out the needs of those people and reflect the collected opinions of the foreign residents in the policy-making process and its implementation. Seoul City selected representatives from each community, and they have been having council meetings as Seoul City Foreign Residence Council since 2015. Today, we had the chairman and vice chairman of the Seoul City Foreign Residence Council in the studio to talk about the Foreign Residence Council more in details. And last month on 17th, the second meeting of 2020 Seoul City Foreign Residence Council was held, and our team was able to attend the meeting. There were policy proposals for the first half of the meeting, and for the second half, there was a roundtable session participated by members of the Foreign Residence Council to talk about COVID-19 situation for foreigners here in Korea. We'll be covering all these, so please make sure to tune in until the end of the show with us. Welcome back to the TBS eFM special feature on Seoul City Foreign Residence Council. We have Halilzadeh Nihat, the chairman of the Seoul City Foreign Residence Council, and Luisa Sahabutinova, the vice president of the Seoul City Foreign Residence Council, in the studio to talk about Foreign Residence Council in detail. So, hello everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can you guys introduce yourself, starting with Nihat?
Well, I would prefer actually to start with Luisa because ladies first in our country.
Okay, ladies first.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Luisa and I'm from Uzbekistan. Currently, I'm a graduate student at Ewha Women's University, majoring in Korean linguistics. Also, I work at Seoul Counseling Center for Migrant Women as translator and interpreter. I've been living in Korea for almost 12 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes.
Okay, nice to meet you too. And what about you, Nihat?
Well, I'm Nihat, the chairman of Seoul City, Seoul City Foreign Residence Council. And I've been in Korea almost 11 years. I have been doing lots of activities in Korea. Maybe that's why I'm the chairman in this council. Yeah, right now I'm working for Gangnam District Government as an expat support center, like Yoksam Global Village Center. We support expats in Korea. That's why actually I was really interested to join this council and to show more support to the expats in Korea.
Okay, so it looks like you guys do a lot of activities to support the foreign residents here in Korea. So I do have a lot of questions about this organization because I think I heard about this, and I do have some people who are in the council, and sometimes they talk about what you guys do, what kind of proposals you do to the city government. So let's talk about that in details because I'm sure that our listeners are very, very want to know what this council is about. So, Nihat, this first question, as the chairman, can you describe the main goal and purpose? Like, what's the City Foreign Residence Council?
Well, if we go in detail, it will take all our day, I think, to talk about the Seoul City Council.
Be brief.
Yeah, the Foreign Residence Council, as a Foreign Residence Council, what we do is we give chance to the communities, foreign resident communities, to give suggestions to the government to revise the law or like to give some suggestions about how we can have a better life for expats in Korea. And also not only expats, we also care about the migrant workers, also multicultural families. Basically, our community is conducted with all of these people who's living in Korea, in Seoul actually, because in Korea we have like 2.5 million foreign residents.
Right, yes.
And almost it's more than 500,000 of them, they are living in Seoul. And these people, they need representatives in government, to show their side. Thanks to the government actually, this time, this is a really huge step. This time, government made decision to make this kind of community, this kind of council, to listen to foreigners what they really need. Because, we are all coming from different backgrounds, different cultures, different views. And when we are all together, then we can make better world. And for making better world, government made this council. So they are listening to us, they are getting suggestions from us, and also they are changing it in a really fast way. Let's say in the past, if the law, for changing law, we had to wait for a long time, if we have some problem, then government issued some new law. But this time, government listening to us, like if there is any issue, before having any issues in government, we suggest them and they change the law or they revise it or they add new law for the having better life for expats in Korea.
Is it in your organization? Like when did it appear?
The city council?
Yeah.
City council itself, it has been like 5 years we are operating.
Okay.
And I joined this council 2 years before. For the first year, I was vice chairman. And for this year, I'm chairman of city council.
Oh, so you're rotating. Okay.
Yes.
So how many people are in this council? Like, how do you get people into this council? Like, what do I need to do or what do I need to be in order to be eligible to get into that council? Luisa?
So nowadays in our council, we have 43 representatives from 25 different countries, from such continents as Europe, South Asia, then Africa, Latin America, and Central Asia. And a person who wants to join council, first of all, he or she has to be a Seoul resident, of course, because this is Seoul City Foreign Residents Council. And then Korean language ability is also required in order to make proposals, to give presentations, and to discuss about different laws and legislations of Korea.
Right.
And then also the person has to be active in the foreign communities, and he has to represent his own country and foreign communities as well.
Do you have the proportional representation system? Like, I know that probably there are a lot of guys coming from Uzbekistan in Korea, and a lot of them living in Seoul. Do you have more Uzbekistan people in that council in comparing to the other people, or do you have like one representative per country?
Actually, in the case of Uzbekistan, there's only me, like one representative from Uzbekistan, one representative from Azerbaijan. So it depends on the population that is living in Seoul, foreign population. So representatives, they are admitted to this council based to the population living in the Seoul.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, most of our representatives are from China, including Korean ethnics as well.
Right.
Because in Seoul, there are like 40,000 Chinese living in Seoul.
Right.
That's why we have 7 Chinese representatives and then 11 representatives from Central Asia, including CIS countries like Russia, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and then 5 people from Europe and 3 from Vietnam. So it depends on the population living, like foreign population living in Seoul.
Well, it sounds like you do have a very proportional representation of all people in the council, which is a great thing, definitely. But before we move on to more details, we've prepared a clip from the interview with the Deputy Director of the Multiculturalism Division at Seoul City Government about the selection process for the council members. Let's take a listen to the clip.
서울시 제2기 외국인 주민 대표자 회의는
We got the recommendations for the council members for the second Seoul City Foreign Resident Council meeting. With the recommendation of foreign residents support facilities, multicultural family support centers, and the heads of each center or institution, we formed a separate committee for selection. The selection committee and experts review documents and interview the members of the Foreign Residence Council.
그래서 이분들을 선정하게 된 것입니다.
That was Deputy Director Byung-hwa. Well, let's move on to more about the members and different committees of the council. So, you said that you are personally, as the chairman of this council, you're working as the supporter, per se, for the foreign residents here, and you are running the city global village in Yeoksam Station, right? So what about the profession of other council members? Like, what do they do?
Oh, well, as you know, like we are many people, like 44 people from 25 countries, and all of us, we have different professions. Let's say, after getting this council, I got district government position in Gangnam area, and other people, like we have migrants, we have students, we have businessmen, we have all different professions. You can find various type of profession people, and also mainly, we are coming all from different backgrounds and from different countries, but we are aiming for same point. We are running just for one point, where everybody can live equally and have same opportunities. That's why we choose the language, same language as Korean. We are using only Korean in our community. That's why maybe we couldn't promote as much as we want, because foreign community, especially in Seoul, they are talking more in English than Korean, and that's why many people who would love to join our community, they couldn't join just because of the language barrier.
Right.
But from this year, we are planning actually to add also those people who can speak like good English and plus Korean. We are working on it to change, to revise our city council rules to attract more people and also get more proposals from different people from different countries.
Well, that's an interesting and very useful idea because, right now it seems like the Korean language ability is one of the major needful things that you need from your council members, because in order to communicate well, in order to be able to make those proposals and everything like that. But it seems like you have different councils among those committees, different committees in your council, right? Like, what are those councils and what do you actually do?
Yeah, we have actually different, 3 subcommittees. One of them is like human rights and cultural diversity. The other one is living environment improvement. And also another one is the capacity building subcommittee, where we discuss various topics to encourage people to talk about their life in Seoul and how we can develop it. Let's say current issues or, hot topics coming to the subcommittees, and we discuss in there. Then we have the special planning team where we discuss about that. Then we make proposal and suggest to the government, Seoul City government, what do you think about this proposal? And then we get answers immediately.
That's quite an impressive thing. And one of the councils you said were a human rights council?
Yes.
So you actually touch on the topic of human rights and, I guess, foreigners' rights in South Korea, right?
Exactly. I would suggest actually it's a really great chance for us, to talk about our council. If you guys having any problem as an expat or migrants, minorities in Korea, please contact us. And we will do our best. As a director in Yeoksam Global Village Center and also chairman of this Foreign Residence City Council, we would love really help a lot to those who's having difficulties and also who's just having problem with human rights. I don't think many people having human rights problem in Korea, but those who's having problem, please contact us. We would be more than happy, to help.
Well, that's definitely interesting and very, very useful organization to go to, because we do have all those internet forums with guys like, saying stuff and this and that, but we do have an actual council that we can go right now and get a response from a Seoul City government. But in order to do that, you actually guys need to physically get together, right? And
Yes.
discuss all those kind of things. How often do we get together? Is it one per month, once per 6 months? Louisa?
I can say that we meet every 2 months,
Okay.
every 2 or 3 months. Situation little bit changed compared to last year. Last year we could meet more often, but this year because of Corona,
Right.
COVID-19
Yes.
pandemic, we couldn't meet that often. But still, we had online meetings as well, and we also discussed different programs in our Kakao group with our members. And I would like to add some more information about
Sure.
human rights and cultural diversity committee.
That's an interesting topic.
Because I am a member of that committee.
Oh.
So in that committee, we discuss issues related to human rights, and also we talk about discrimination in Korea. Our members, they shared their experiences, if they had been discriminated before. And also we focused on the the term itself, multicultural family, which
Right.
is in Korean, that is 다문화 가족.
Right.
So we proposed that the word 다문화 itself, it has to be changed to something like global family or something different, not 다문화, because 다문화 itself has a very negative feeling.
Right.
But
yes.
Koreans, they see it from different perspective, but from the foreigner perspective, it has kind of negative feeling, not that positive. So some of our members, they proposed the change of this word itself, and I think now it hasn't been implemented yet, but they are considering this too.
Well, yeah, I heard about that too, and I really hope that they would change that term.
Through actually the mentoring group in immigration office,
Right.
It got changed, right?
You're right,
And,
yes.
this kind of word, it wasn't really suitable for Korea, and it got changed immediately. And I think this 다문화 word, it wasn't really bad, when they made that word, it wasn't really bad word, but because of I think the media used it in the wrong way, and it became when you differentiate people's, the level. I don't want to say level. It's kind of really hard for me to explain because I'm not native speaker. I don't know how to mention that 다문화 word in different way. But
Right.
Honestly, as a 다문화 family, we are multicultural family
Oh,
living
yeah,
in
you
Korea.
are, yeah.
I got Korean citizenship, and as a I can talk now as a Korean, not
Exactly,
as a foreigner.
yes.
And my wife is from Azerbaijan, so we are technically we are multicultural family in Korea.
Exactly, you are.
And now the situation changed because at first when foreigners they were coming to Korea, it was just because of work or factory work, how they call it 3D jobs. But now the situation is changing. Korea is one of the global leading country, and people they are coming to here, to have better education or more innovative life, or I don't know, starting their startups or etc. And in this situation, we can't say actually the foreigners they are in low skilled jobs because
Right,
we are having enough professionals in Korea. As a person who's working in Gangnam, I can say I can see every day more than 50 people who's from different backgrounds, different countries, and they're having professional jobs in really big companies in Korea.
Absolutely, yeah. Just as you mentioned, we don't have just people who are working in those so-called 3D jobs. We have a lot of executives, we have a lot of businessmen, we have professors at universities, and so on and so forth. So let's get into gathering ideas. We have asked how the Pakistan community gathers ideas presented at this council. Let's listen to the clip of the Pakistani community representative, Professor Sabir Hussain.
We have the three basic big forum, Pakistan Business Association and Pakistan Community Korea and Students and Scholar Association. So particularly Pakistan Community Korea, collectively all sectors, students and business people. We made some cultural issues, cultural events, some gathering. These gatherings are on various occasions and various purposes. Sometimes embassy call to people. Embassy, they gather people in embassy and they talk to people. Is there anything? Is there any problem the community is facing? So people talk there, and this is the first-hand information from community too. So these problems they translate to us. Secondly, when, for example, if there is any gathering, personal gathering, we gathered 20-30 people in local city, and they talk their issues there, and we conceive ideas from there, and then those ideas we discuss here in forum. Similarly, in student section.
Well, that's very interesting. They have the whole system of how these ideas are gathered. And we have also asked what kind of initiatives that Professor Hussein proposed to the council. Let's listen to it too.
Best way to listen to foreigner issues in Seoul, every town make two representatives of from foreign community, apart from the nations, apart from the country, apart from nationalities, from any nation. I propose also the mechanism how we can choose those people. When those representatives, they will come in local government by town. I mean, there is a various GU in Seoul, probably 24 GU, right? So if Ishitagu, every town has two representatives, their representative should be like elected people. So when they work with the GU administration, then Seoul government and Korean government, they can find original problem of foreigners.
Well, let's talk about these proposals. And so let's talk basically about how you guys work and what you guys do. Like, how many proposals do you think have been made so far? And how many of those did you actually transfer to Seoul government? And of those, how many has been adopted?
Oh, that's a really difficult question. You know, when you asked this question, I felt like you are really like you became really Korean, like, because I'm not really friendly with numbers, but I can say we are proposing every time for each subcommittee. Like we are having around 10 proposals, and 6 of them overall from subcommittees. Like per subcommittee, we are having 2 main proposal coming for the conference,
right?
Year-end conference, and there 6 people they are coming up and doing presentation widely about what's our proposal and why we should accept it. And I would say most of them after Seoul City government listening to that. If they can change it, they change it immediately. But most of the proposals, it's going for, I think, Minister of Justice.
Right.
I have read lots of researches about the foreigners' life in Korea, and the main problems of foreigners in Korea is, first thing is visa problem.
Visa, definitely.
And second thing is finding job.
Right.
And since it's number 1, visa, so everybody trying to give some more suggestions because of the visa. But as a person, who's working also closely with the government, I can understand also government somehow, why they can't fix the problems visa as fast as possible,
Right, yeah. Visas problems, it actually requires a lot of coordination from different government bodies.
Yes,
not
true.
just the Seoul government, but the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so on and so forth. So it's definitely not an easy issue to tackle. But can you give us any example, for example, Luisa, on any proposal that you've been proposing to the Seoul government and it actually has been adopted?
Actually, at the beginning of this year, last month, actually, we had general meeting. And for that general meeting, I made two team proposals with other representatives. And both of them were related to visa issue.
Oh.
So one was related to job seeking visa, that is D10. And second one was related to residency visa, which is a point-based system, F27.
F27, yeah.
And in the case of F27 visa, we asked for more points for Korean ability skills, and then period of stay in Korea, and for points for volunteering hours, and something like related with financial statement. So only the part related to Korean language skills was accepted, but actually it was implemented before. So before, I guess it was 10 points. Now it still remained like 20 points.
Oh.
So,
Still, it's cool that they're listening to you. Well, it's very important for the proposed policy to be actually put into implementation. And we have asked the Deputy Director Byun Kyung-hwa of the Seoul City about what happens after the policies are proposed at the meeting. Let's listen to the clip first.
사실은 그 부분은 조금 미약합니다. 사실.
Actually, that part is a bit weak, because most of the suggestions are about loosening the existing policy of the Ministry of Justice on protecting the local residents. The majority of suggestions are about visa systems, improvements in immigration, and international student-related policies. It's not easy to reflect the suggestions we get, but when we have a policy consultation meeting with the Ministry of Justice twice a year, officials think about these issues seriously. So, we're trying to solve problems by these meetings.
단계를 거쳐서 이런 문제들을 풀어가고 있습니다.
I hope there will be policies implemented in the future. What are the future plans then for this council? Like, how do you see it progressing? What kind of policies do you want to get through your council? And what do you want to achieve through these council meetings?
Well, first of all, I think that we have to fully use this opportunity to communicate with Seoul government directly and participate in policy making in Seoul and in Korea itself. And as for me, I hope that more policies on the visa and jobs and issues related to human rights will be implemented in the future. And I think that the members itself, we have to increase the number of countries, like nationalities, and the people with different social status who can participate in our committee. So we can look at different problems from different points of view. Because like nowadays, mostly we have students, marriage migrant, professors, or businessmen. I think we need other foreigners like freelancers or like foreigners with different jobs.
Well, absolutely. And those are the very beautiful organization and body we have right now here. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to talk more with you guys, so we probably need to wrap up around here. But before we go, I want to thank you, Nihat, and you, Louisa, for joining me here in Diverse Voices Heart. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was really a pleasure for us.
You are listening to the TBS eFM special feature, Diverse Voices Heard. Tune in for the second half of this special broadcast.
Welcome back to Diverse Voices Heard, a TBS eFM special feature on Seoul City Foreign Residents Council. As we have mentioned earlier, we were able to go to the second meeting of the Foreign Residents Council and hear proposals made at the meeting. Let's listen to the clip first and then discuss the issue. Here is the first one.
제가 발표한 제안은 중도 입국 청소년 협력 지원에 관한 내용입니다.
My proposal is about immigrant children adolescents. It is estimated that there are about 547,000 children whose parents or themselves immigrated to Korea. Most of the immigrant children are expected to be naturalized to Koreans in the future, but the government is not able to figure out the current status of this issue. The reason for this is that each ministry is organizing and counting these people with their own standards. Depending on the department, the number of immigrant children living in Korea varies greatly from 3,000 to 200,000. Immigrant children are having psychological and social maladjustment.
아래 설문조사에서 보다시피 청소년들은 한국에
As you can see from the survey below, these teenagers come to Korea without any prior preparation. Also, they responded that they were apart from their parents, who are responsible to support the child emotionally for more than 5 years. Most of them are children of foreign workers or children of ethnic Koreans who grew up in their own countries since they were young. They come to Korea at a relatively late age who already passed the language development period, but they intend to be long-term or permanent residents in Korea. What do we have to do in order to help these immigrant children, adolescents, adapt to our society?
청소년들이 사회 적응을 돕기 위해서 무엇을 어떻게 해야 할까요?
Well, it is a rising issue here in South Korea, and I personally know a lot of cases like this. A lot of people who are coming from Russia or any other post-Soviet countries to Korea and bringing their children with them. I don't think this is exactly the question addressed to Seoul government, but I guess they can address this issue to the relative organization, as I guess this is an issue because if we bring in the children here to Korea, they are the future members of Korean society. So we need to care about them, right? We need to think about how to raise these children, how to solve all the problems related to education, to the language learning of those kids, and to how to adapt them to Korean culture and adapt them to living here in this totally new environment for them. Well, here are some policy suggestions by the presenter in order to improve the current situation. Passing on information to these kind of families. When a person registers as a foreign resident, he can check the children's education and improve sharing information among related departments. There was a proposal about improving the process of entering school because right now it's very clear for Koreans how to enter the kids into the school, but it's definitely not that clear for foreign residents. For middle school, for example, instead of getting permission from a principal, get one from the superintendent of education and assigning the student to appropriate schools. There definitely will be much more schools to choose from in this case. Korean education support for immigrant youth. We need more expanding Korean classes. Right now, we have 326 Korean classes for the multicultural family children. We need more of those. We do need much more support for career exploration and developing an ebook, for example, or something other like mobile application in dual languages, mentoring online or career exploration for those kids who still don't speak Korean very well. Well, we've contacted the Seoul City government and asked about the progress of these proposals, and there was actually progress on this issue. They are currently reviewing and making progress by cooperating with the so-called On Dream Educational Center, a center that is supported by Seoul City and providing psychological counseling and career exploration for immigrant children. Seoul On Dream Center is an institute that is currently providing language help, adaptation education, and other appropriate education for immigrated youth. So we do have a progress on this particular issue, which is a great news. Well, let's move on and listen to this second clip, and it's about the development talents for foreign residents' children. Let's have a listen to the clip first and discuss the issue.
제안 배경입니다. 외국인 주민 자녀에 대한 지원.
Support for foreign residents' children mostly consists of Korean culture experiences, outings, and vacation camps. Among the growing number of foreign residents' children, there is a need for more opportunities to develop talents for middle and high school students. I saw that there were many difficulties for foreign parents and children economically assessing information and having opportunities. Some private organizations are providing programs for discovering talents and opportunities for challenges. However, I felt that events that are held by Seoul City were lacking professional support and only held on a small scale. There is a need to improve the social awareness of children.
인식 개선이 필요합니다.
Well, this is another issue, and this is a huge one. It still concerns our immigration of immigrated family children. This can be relatively easy done by Seoul government, I guess. We do have a lot of vacation camps. We do have a lot of activities that are supposed to target the Korean kids, but we can as well target those for international and migrated families as well. The policy proposal, which was done during this council meeting, was to for example, frequently opening various talent presentations and exhibitions for foreign resident children using Well, for example, Seoul Citizens Hall, the one that is located in the Seoul City Hall. It was built for the people as a space dedicated for listening to the voices of people. The multi-purpose space serves as the venue for a multiple of citizens-oriented events, activities, and more. So why don't we just use that to address our children? Different kinds of support for outstanding talents and fostering talents in the migrated families. Improve social awareness of foreign resident children and among Koreans as well by promoting and announcing results on Seoul City website. Concerning this issue, we have called the Department of Seoul City and asked about the progress of these proposals. And again, there was actually progress on this issue as well. As for the Seoul City government, they updated us that they are planning on opening a talent show and contest for foreign children at the Seoul On Dream Education Center, which is a great news. It's definitely a very good activity for kids to be participating in and show their talents brightly there. They are also planning on providing opportunities for immigrant children to show off their talents in May next year, which is 2021, by having an event for World Day with the Ministry of Justice. And I guess a lot of parents don't know about that wonderful so-called World Day or 세계의 날 in Korean. It's a lot of activities happen around there. People from different communities and different cultural backgrounds gather together. They share their food, they share their culture. They do every sorts of activities together, and that is a great opportunity for kids to mingle together as well. Okay, so let's move on to our next issue. And next issue is very important to all Korean students, international students who are in Korea right now. And this definitely has been faced by many foreigners here in Korea. It's about visas and specific visas that are given to graduates from Korean universities who are searching for jobs here in the country. So let's take a listen first.
D10 비자는 발급을 받을 수 있는데
First, you can get a D10 visa, but you can only search for work from 1 year and 6 months to 2 years. However, the number of foreigners who succeed in finding a job is relatively low. Second, you can get a 6-month visa and can extend it up to 2 times. But it can be difficult to issue the visa because they can be misunderstood for their purpose as staying in Korea. To explain another problem, there is a limit for graduates that they have to get a job only related to their majors. Also, many graduates cannot get an official job that is recognized by the immigration control law.
그리고 네 번째 문제점은 구직 활동 동안은
The fourth problem is that it is not allowed to get part-time jobs or contract-based jobs while searching for jobs. And the final problem is that there aren't many companies that are willing to sponsor an E7 visa. So many companies prefer F visa holders to the E7 application.
F 비자 소유자를 선호합니다.
Well, yes, this is probably one of the biggest issues that a lot of Korean students, international students, face here in Korea. D10 visa, I guess you guys heard about this a lot. And this is a huge issue too. And in order to increase the number of foreign residents getting jobs here in the country, 2 things the presenter suggested. First one was to allow part-time employment and contract-based jobs while looking for full-time jobs. This is very important because right now with D10 visa, you cannot get an part-time employment. So definitely we need to work on that field to allow more flexibility for the employment seekers. The second thing is expanding the job field for graduates so that students can get jobs considering their actual talents, abilities, and values regardless of the major. This is a huge point as well because right now, mostly you are able to get or eligible to get a visa only if the job you're seeking is strictly matches your major back at university. We definitely need some flexibility on that one. We have called the Seoul government office and asked about the progress of these proposals. An official request to the Minister of Justice to review right now as they answered us, but they couldn't get the reply yet. So this issue is still pending, and let's hope it will work out just fine in our favor. The fourth topic of the proposal that I want to talk about today is about old parents of foreign residents. Let's have a listen to the clip first.
우리 한국에서는 행복하게 추구를 위해서 한국에서 오는데 하지만 우리 고향에서 부모님이 누가 돌봐줄까요?
We go to Korea to pursue happiness, but who will take care of my parents in my hometown? If you look at some cases, I'm 40 years old now. I'm sad about the situation like this. In Korea, we live with my parents-in-law, but it breaks my heart when I think about my sick parents back home. When I invite my parents, they have to leave after 90 days. I'm worried about them getting on the plane, and also, it takes at least 1 or 2 days to return home because China is such a large country. And who's going to take care of them in the meantime?
한국에서뿐만 아니고 중국에서도 이런 걱정 저런 걱정 많이.
I have a lot of worries in Korea as well as in China. But I came to Korea to live a happy life. I've made a happy family in Korea too. But in Korea, there is a traditional culture called Filial Duty. We live with my parents-in-law in order to fulfill the duty. But who will take care of my parents? This problem can be a big concern, and I came up with a suggestion that not limiting the length of staying in Korea for our elderly parents.
Yes, this is one of the biggest problems that probably faces a lot of people who are married to Korean nationals and live here in Korea, especially if they have kids. They do need their parents come to Korea to look after their kids. The presenter here proposed for removing the period of stay, but also suggested detailed qualifications for allowing old parents of foreign residents to stay without limits on days. Because right now, as far as I know, those parents are allowed to stay in the country for only 90 days. So the policy proposal goes as removing the limits of the period of stay allowed in Korea for parents of foreign residents who are over 70 years old. And here are some of the requirements for that. Documents that prove that it's hard to take care of the parents in the home country. Government definitely should make it a mandatory to get a social insurance for those parents while they are living in Korea as an independent household, definitely. And we do need the documents proving that those guys can support their parents here in the country. We've called the related department and asked about the progress of these proposals. An official request to the Minister of Justice was sent, and they are now waiting for a review. Let's hope that it works out really well, because this is the actual issue. I do have a lot of guys around me. I do have a lot of friends of mine who are married to Korean nationals and living here in Korea, and they always struggle of bringing parents with them here to the country. I just hope this would resolve very, very fine. So we have covered policy proposals made at the second meeting of Foreign Residents Council for 2020. And as I mentioned before, the second half of the meeting was a roundtable discussion on how the foreign residents are coping with COVID-19 situation and difficulties that they are facing in this regard. So let's have a listen to the clip first, which was presented by a foreign resident who is also a parent, and discuss further about this issue.
학교에서 받았던 건지도 옛날
Announcements received from the school. These announcements are coming in more than before. So yesterday, I checked how many announcements were sent. For your information, I have 2 kids, elementary schooler and a middle schooler. But yesterday was Thursday, and weekdays are not a day that we get many announcements. But I got 7 notices. These are in Korean, and if you put them on an A4 paper, it would be somewhere between 7 to 10 pages. And I think it will be difficult for foreign parents to check and translate Korean into their languages.
외국인 학부모 입장으로는 굉장한 어려움이 있다고 봅니다.
Yes, this is the problem. I'm working in Korean university too, and I do get a lot of those announcements all in Korean, and even that in very hard Korean. It's very hard to read and very hard to translate, and it comes in like pages and pages. Definitely, I'm not the only one who faces this problem. A lot of parents, especially parents of their kids who are studying in Korean schools right now, facing that too. Language definitely one of the most common problems when you live in another country, and definitely it creates a lot of problems for you if you don't speak language enough to read all those official documents. So the presenter made a couple of policy proposals in regard of this issue. There is a hint of change because of that, fortunately, because there was a proposal already made for a service called Announcement, Translation and School System Council and Service for Foreign Residents at a private facility here in the country. Well, we're not sure yet whether this will be in service in real life and how soon it will be in service in real life. The presenter suggested that there will be much more services provided by the public institutions such as Seoul City government, for example. We definitely need that because especially in this period of COVID-19 and all the pandemic rushing through the country, we have a lot of announcements coming out from Seoul government, from educational government, and we do need that translated into different languages because there are just too many people who don't understand what's happening. That's definitely a huge issue recently, especially in 2020. Well, let's move on to the next topic, shall we? The next topic was discussed at the roundtable discussion, and it was about foreigner quarantine. Let's listen to the clip first.
지금 본국에서 한국에 입국하려면
In order to enter Korea from your home country, you need a certification for the quarantine facility permit and confirmation. In order to apply for it, you have to write the address and contact information of the place that you will stay for your quarantine for 14 days in Korea. To write it, you have to have a contract beforehand. If you're working for a certain company, you can write the address of the company dormitory and contact information of the boss. The problem is that the boss refuses. He doesn't want you to stay in the dorm. In this case, what should we do?
그래서 이런 경우는 어떻게 할까?
Yeah, this is a huge problem too, because right now we do have these unfortunate circumstances of need to quarantine ourselves for 2 weeks somewhere. And it's definitely, if you live in Korea and if you have a home here in Korea, that's not much of a problem. But for newly arrivals, that's definitely can create the whole stir about what to do and where to find these facilities. I mean, government provides facilities for everyone who enters Korea, but those facilities are not cheap. You have to pay for like $100 per night. So it comes up like, $1,400 for 2 weeks. Definitely something needs to be done, and government definitely needs to care for all the people who are coming into country, because they are coming to the country to work, to bring labor force here, to bring taxes here to Korean society. We definitely need to figure something out about that. The presenter suggested just 2 things for those employers and immigration office for the quarantine. First, make the employer or the company that employs people take responsibility of quarantine when coming to Korea. I'm actually surprised it's not the issue yet right now. I thought the employers take responsibility for those. And the second thing is immigration office should extend the employment period rather than giving departure grace period. That is very important too. Definitely this need to be delivered to the immigration office, and they need to extend and be more flexible with their policies regarding the immigrating labor forces coming into Korea. Well, let's move to the next topic. It's still about employment, but it's a different side of employment. It's about employment insurance for foreign workers. Here is the clip.
갑자기 사장님이 일이 없다고 내일부터 나오지 말라고 하면 어떻게 되겠어요?
What would happen when your boss suddenly tells you that there's no work and don't come to work from tomorrow? The government is providing employment support funds, but in order to receive it, you have to have employment insurance. But most of the immigrant workers are not required to get one and don't have one, so you can't get the support fund. So even though you're unemployed, you cannot get any unemployment benefits. But if you can get employment insurance, the employer doesn't fire the worker because he gets the job support fund. In that way, you can stay. So I think this can solve this problem.
해결될 수 있을 것 같다라는 생각이 듭니다.
Well, unemployment is a serious issue, especially right now during the COVID-19 situation. A lot of people are losing their jobs, both Koreans and foreign employees. And it's definitely a huge issue because a lot of Koreans, for Koreans, it's mandatory thing to get an employment insurance, while for the foreign residents, it is not. So definitely we do need to see the fixing of South Korean laws to get that, because that creates the inequality between Korean and non-Korean residents. The presenter suggested two things to the for these employment insurance issues and for COVID-19 situation. She said provide updated information in translated version about COVID-19 here in South Korea so that the foreign workers have understanding about the situation under COVID-19. That is very important. That's crucial to do that, to provide all the people who are right now in the country in their own language, what's happening, what chances they have, what should they do under certain circumstances, where they should go, where should they call, and stuff like that. It's very, very important. Right now, we don't have that. We do have some organizations that are helping foreign employees and providing the consultations and giving their information about the government policies. But that's definitely not enough. We need more of that. And the second proposal was about making these unemployment insurance mandatory to get an employment insurance for everyone. Well, that's definitely something that South Korean government should work onto. As far as I know, the medical insurance is right now obligatory for everyone, even for foreign residents, while the employment insurance is not. Why is that? We definitely need to fix that. Well, the last topic for today is about an international student's point of view on schools' prevention measures. Let's listen to the clip first.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 서울대학교 유학생 콩지탱이라고 합니다.
Hello, I'm Kong Ji-taeng, an international student at Seoul National University. In the case of my school, they distributed masks for government-invited scholarship students, but exchange students and other foreign students couldn't receive masks. Also, at the beginning, there were problems with international students not being able to buy public masks, because it's not mandatory for international students to get national insurance. Foreign students couldn't wear masks for about 1 to 2 months, and some students who stayed at home fell into depression. Some couldn't afford a plane ticket, so they couldn't return home. There were such problems.
그런 문제들이 좀 있었습니다.
Yes, that is very difficult and very important topic because if you guys were here in Korea at the end of February and around beginning of March when it was the actual outbreak here, you probably remember the times when it was really difficult to get masks. They were really rare. You couldn't find them in any drugstore, in any convenience store, anywhere. And I was struggling myself too. And I definitely get this struggle for international students. They don't speak Korean enough. They don't know where to get those public masks. And besides, if you remember that those public masks were not free. They were not available anytime. You need to go to the drugstore on the specific days of the week. And those days of the week are correlating with the number of the year you were born. So there was a whole system of very difficult system of how to get those masks. Definitely for international students, it's a hurdle. The presenter suggested that there will be policies about keeping the preventive measures for all schools. So we do need international departments at those universities work more closely with international students and maybe support them with the masks or at least with the information how to get those masks, where to get those masks. Well, this is it for today, and that is all I have for today's special episode of TBS eFM Diverse Voices Heard, a special feature on Seoul City Foreign Residents Council. I hope that this show helped to understand what kind of issues were discussed in the Seoul City Foreign Residents Council, which further expands the understanding of foreign residents in Korea and what their concerns are while living in the country. This was the special host, Ilya. Thank you for joining me this morning.